AI agents are not changing online work because they can write a cleaner email or generate another blog outline. They are changing online work because they can connect several messy steps into one workflow. That is the shift most people are missing. For years, most AI tools worked like assistants. You asked a question, they answered. You pasted text, they rewrote it. You gave them a task, they gave you a draft. Useful, absolutely. But you were still the operator. You opened the tabs, you copied the data, you compared the options, you checked the spreadsheet. You moved the result into a document, you sent the email, you updated the task board. Then you did it all again the next day. The AI helped with one piece of the work, but the workflow still depended on you holding everything together. AI agents are different because they are built to do more than respond. They can plan. They can use tools. They can browse. They can read files. They can fill in forms. They can operate inside apps. They can decide which step comes next, at least within limits. That does not make them magic employees. It does not mean you can hand over your business and stop paying attention. But it does mean the shape of online work is beginning to change. The real question is not whether AI agents will replace online workers. That framing is too simple. The better question is, which parts of online work were never really creative in the first place? Because those parts are becoming easier to delegate. If you are a creator, marketer, freelancer, SEO professional, automation builder, or online business owner, this matters more than another viral AI demo. The opportunity is not to chase every new tool. The opportunity is to understand which repeatable workflows can now be redesigned with AI in the middle. Online work has become overloaded with small decisions. A typical day for a digital worker is rarely one deep task from beginning to end. It is usually a chain of scattered actions. You check messages, you research topics, you compare sources, you update client documents, you look at analytics, you write briefs, you summarize meetings, you check rankings, you prepare reports, you move information from one platform to another. None of that is impossible. The problem is that it is fragmented. Modern online work happens across email, Google Docs, spreadsheets, websites, analytics dashboards, SEO tools, CRMs, project management apps, social platforms, and internal knowledge bases. So the worker is often not solving one hard problem. The worker is stitching together 10 smaller tasks. That is exactly where AI agents become interesting. A normal chatbot can help with one step. An agent may be able to help with the sequence. That distinction sounds small, but it changes the way work is organized. A traditional workflow says, take this input, follow these exact steps, and produce this output. An agent-style workflow says, here is the goal. Figure out the steps, use the available tools, and come back with the result. That is a different way to think about productivity. But the important part is that the agent does not remove human judgment. It changes where human judgment sits. Instead of spending most of your time clicking, copying, searching, formatting, and transferring information, your role moves closer to defining the goal, setting the constraints, reviewing the output, and deciding what is good enough to publish, send, or act on. That is the bigger shift. AI is moving from content generation toward task execution, not perfect execution. Not full autonomy, not something you should trust blindly, but enough execution to change how serious online workflows are designed. To see why this matters, look at the old way of working. Before agent-style workflows, online work was mostly manual coordination. If you were preparing a content brief, you searched Google, you opened competitor pages, you checked YouTube, you looked at Reddit or forums, you copied notes into a document, you compared angles, you checked search intent, you built an outline. Then you cleaned everything up so another person could actually use it. If you were preparing a client report, you opened analytics tools, you checked rankings, you pulled numbers into a spreadsheet, you wrote observations, you added recommendations, you formatted the document, you sent it to the client. If you were onboarding a freelance client, you read their website, you reviewed their intake form, you checked competitors, you drafted questions, you created a project summary, you built a proposal, you set up a folder, you made a task list. The work was not always difficult, but it was full of friction. The human became the integration layer between disconnected software tools. And that is not the best use of human intelligence. Then basic AI chat tools created the first major shift. Instead of starting from a blank page, you could ask for a draft, a summary, a rewrite, an idea list, or an explanation. That made knowledge work faster. But it was still mostly conversational. The AI waited for you. You had to bring information into the chat. You had to decide the next step. You had to move the output somewhere useful. That is why many people used AI heavily and still felt overloaded. The chatbot helped with thinking and writing, but not always with doing. AI agents move closer to the workflow itself. A simple way to define an AI agent is this: an AI system that can pursue a goal by taking actions through tools. A chatbot answers. An agent acts. But we need to be careful with the word acts. It does not mean the agent understands your business like a trained employee. It does not mean it has common sense in every situation. It does not mean it should be trusted without review. It means the system can do things beyond generating text. It may search the web, it may open pages, it may read a file. It may inspect a spreadsheet, it may compare results. It may write a draft, it may prepare a table. It may ask for approval before submitting something. It may repeat steps until it reaches a defined endpoint. For example, imagine giving an assistant this goal: research 5 competitors. Compare their pricing pages, summarize their positioning, and create a table of opportunities for our landing page. With a normal AI chat tool, you would probably break that into several pieces. You would ask for research questions, then search manually, then paste competitor pages, then ask for summaries, then ask for a table, then ask for recommendations. With an agent, the idea is that you give the broader goal and the system handles more of the path. It may search. It may open pages, it may extract information, it may organize what it finds, then it may return a structured output. For more advanced users, the key difference is autonomy over tool use. The agent is not just following a fixed automation like, when this email arrives, add a row to a spreadsheet. That kind of automation is still useful, but it is rigid. It follows a predefined path. An AI agent can make decisions inside the process. It can decide that one source is not relevant and look for another. It can decide that the data is incomplete and ask for clarification. It can decide to use a browser first, then a spreadsheet, then a document. It can adjust the path based on what it finds. That flexibility is what makes agents powerful. It is also what makes them risky. Because the more freedom you give an agent, the more guardrails you need. This is where the conversation often goes wrong. Some people overhype agents as if they are ready to run an entire business. Other people dismiss them because they still make mistakes. Both reactions miss the useful middle. Agents are not reliable enough to blindly run your business, but they may already be useful enough to reduce the manual labor inside many online workflows. An agent usually starts with a goal. That goal might be simple, like summarizing customer reviews. Or it might be more complex, like analyzing a website, identifying SEO issues, and preparing a prioritized action plan. Then the agent needs context. Context includes the files, websites, tools, rules, examples, brand voice, target audience, constraints, and success criteria. This is where many people get weak results. They give the agent a vague goal and expect expert-level output, but agents are only as useful as the environment you give them. A strong instruction sounds less like a casual prompt and more like a work brief. It explains what the agent should do, what sources it can use, what it should avoid, what format the final result should take, and when the task should stop. After that, the agent plans. It may create a sequence of steps. If the task is content research, the process may look something like this in practice. Understand the topic, find current sources, extract recurring arguments, compare search intent, identify missing angles, build a structure, draft the first version, check for weak claims, and return a final brief. A real agent system may not show you every internal step, but practically, that is what is happening. The agent is breaking a goal into actions, then it uses tools. This is the core change. A language model by itself generates text. An agent connected to tools can do work inside an environment. It can browse a website, it can read a PDF, it can run code. It can update a spreadsheet, it can retrieve information from connected documents, it can interact with apps, it can turn language into action. But every extra tool also raises the need for oversight. If the agent is only drafting text, the risk is usually lower. If the agent is changing a spreadsheet, sending emails, submitting forms, buying products, editing live pages, or accessing private data, the risk is much higher. That is why serious agent workflows need approval points. The human should stay in control of irreversible actions. Let the agent gather, compare, draft, structure, and prepare. Make the human approve, publish, pay, delete, send, or change anything important. That is the new workflow pattern. AI does more of the legwork. Human judgment controls the outcome. For creators, one of the strongest use cases is research preparation. The old process was slow and messy. You searched YouTube, Google, Reddit, reports, articles, and competitor videos. You opened too many tabs, you copied notes into a document, you tried to find a strong angle, then you built an outline. With an agent-assisted workflow, the starting point changes. You give the agent the topic, the audience, the channel positioning, and the kind of video you want to make. The agent can gather sources, summarize competing narratives, identify common claims, separate stronger evidence from weaker speculation, and create a research brief. The benefit is not that the agent becomes the creator. The benefit is that it reduces the research friction before the creative decision. You still need to verify important claims. You still need to decide the angle. You still need to know whether the story fits your channel. You still need to remove generic commentary. The agent can accelerate research. It should not replace editorial judgment. For marketers, agents can help with campaign preparation. The old process was scattered across too many inputs. You checked competitor landing pages, you reviewed ads, you looked at customer reviews, you studied objections, you built a positioning document, you wrote multiple hooks, you created email angles, then you organized everything for the team. An agent can help by gathering examples, grouping messages, identifying repeated customer pain points, and preparing draft assets. The benefit is faster preparation. You may get to a usable first draft or strategic overview more quickly, but it cannot guarantee strategic truth. It may misunderstand the market. It may overweight loud opinions. It may produce messaging that sounds polished but says nothing new. The human still has to ask the questions that matter. Is this actually persuasive? Is this aligned with the offer? Is this based on real customer behavior or just internet noise? For freelancers, agents can reduce admin work. Client onboarding is a good example. The old way was a chain of small manual steps. Read the client's website. Review their intake form. Check their competitors. Create a project summary. Draft questions. Prepare a proposal. Set up a folder. Create a task list. An agent can help turn the intake information into a first project brief, generate follow-up questions, summarize risks, and prepare a working plan. The benefit is that the freelancer starts with structure instead of a blank page, but the freelancer still owns the judgment. You still need to understand scope. You still need to price correctly. You still need to catch unclear expectations. You still need to protect yourself from vague deliverables. This is an important point. Agents are not just for producing more content. They may be even more useful for reducing the invisible work around the content. For SEO professionals, agents can help with research, clustering, briefs, and audits. The old workflow involved collecting keywords, checking search results, grouping intent, reviewing pages, identifying gaps, and building recommendations. An agent can assist with keyword grouping, search result summaries, page comparisons, internal linking suggestions, title variations, and content brief creation. The realistic benefit is faster analysis and faster preparation of SEO materials. But SEO is also an area where blind trust is dangerous. Search results change, tools disagree. Keyword volume can be imperfect. Search intent can be nuanced. An agent might create a clean-looking strategy that misses the actual business priority. So the best use is not let the agent do SEO. The better use is let the agent prepare the material so the SEO professional can make faster, better decisions. For online business owners, agents can help with operations. They can summarize customer feedback, prepare weekly reports, monitor competitor changes, draft standard operating procedures, clean messy notes, turn meeting transcripts into tasks, create first drafts of documentation, compare vendor options, prepare launch checklists. These tasks are not glamorous, but they consume real time. That is where agents can become valuable. Not because they create a perfect business strategy, but because they reduce the repetitive coordination work that slows everything down. To understand the trade-offs, compare agents with the older ways of working. Manual workflows are still valuable when the person doing them is skilled. A human can notice context. A human can question assumptions. A human can understand stakes. A human can recognize that a client said one thing but probably meant another. That matters. The downside is speed and fatigue. Manual work breaks down when the same person has to repeat low-level tasks across many tools. Copy this. Paste that. Check the same dashboard again. Format the same report again. Summarize the same kind of meeting again. Eventually, the worker becomes the bridge between disconnected software. That is the kind of work agents may reduce. Basic AI chat tools are still useful too. If all you need is a rewrite, a summary, a brainstorm, or a draft, a normal chatbot may be enough. You do not always need an agent. But when the task involves several steps, several sources, or movement across tools, a chatbot often puts too much operational burden back on the user. Google search is still useful as well. Search gives access to sources, websites, opinions, documents, and current information. But search puts the burden on you. You search, you scan, you compare, you open, you judge. You summarize, you synthesize. An agent can sit on top of part of that process. It can search, compare, extract, and organize. But it does not remove the need to verify. In some ways, it makes verification more important because an agent can compress a messy research process into a confident summary. Traditional automation also still matters. Fixed automations are powerful because they are predictable. When X happens, do Y. That is ideal for stable processes. But many online workflows are not that clean. Sometimes the email is slightly different. Sometimes the document is incomplete. Sometimes the customer request does not fit the template. Sometimes the best next step depends on context. AI agents are useful in these messy middle areas. They are not as predictable as fixed automation, but they are more flexible. So the future is not agents versus automation. The future is agents plus automation. Use traditional automation for stable, repetitive, rule-based processes. Use agents for variable tasks that require reading, interpretation, and flexible tool use. Use humans for judgment, taste, ethics, client relationships, strategy, and final approval. That combination is where real productivity may come from, but this is where the hype needs to slow down. The first limitation is reliability. Agents can make mistakes. They can misunderstand instructions. They can click the wrong thing. They can summarize incorrectly. They can miss important context. They can produce outputs that look finished but are based on weak reasoning. That last part is dangerous because agent output often looks organized. A clean table can hide bad assumptions. A polished report can hide missing sources. A confident recommendation can hide uncertainty. The second limitation is hallucination. Even when agents browse or use tools, they can still misinterpret information. Tool access may reduce some problems, but it does not eliminate them. An agent may quote the wrong page. It may merge facts from different contexts. It may treat outdated information as current. It may fail to notice that a source is promotional, biased, or irrelevant. That means any workflow involving public claims, client advice, financial decisions, legal issues, health information, or high-stakes business recommendations needs careful review. The third limitation is privacy and security. An agent with access to your files, browser, email, CRM, payment systems, or website is not just a writing assistant. It is operating near sensitive business infrastructure. That means permissions matter. You should not give broad access casually. You should not connect everything just because a tool allows it. You should not let agents perform irreversible actions without approval. The safer pattern is limited access, clear task scope, and human confirmation. The fourth limitation is poor workflow design. Sometimes an agent is overkill. If all you need is a quick rewrite, use a normal AI assistant. If all you need is a fixed trigger, use standard automation. If all you need is a quick fact, use search and verify. Agents are most useful when the task has multiple steps, variable inputs, and a meaningful output. The fifth limitation is overdependence. This is the one people often avoid. If an AI agent sends the wrong message, mislabels a client file, recommends a bad action, or publishes inaccurate information, the responsibility still comes back to the human or business using it. You cannot outsource accountability to the model. That is why serious teams will not use agents as independent workers. They will use them as supervised workflow accelerators. There is a big difference. A weak agent workflow says, "Do this entire job for me." A strong agent workflow says, "Prepare the work, show your assumptions, flag uncertainty, and wait for approval before anything important happens." That is the mindset shift. The goal is not blind autonomy. The goal is controlled delegation. AI agents are changing online work, but not in the exaggerated way the hype often suggests. They are not instantly replacing creators, marketers, freelancers, SEO professionals, or business owners. They are changing the structure of the work. The old model was simple. You used software tools one by one. You moved information manually. You asked AI for help with isolated tasks. You remained the person connecting everything. The new model is different. You define the goal. You provide context. You set boundaries. The agent handles more of the research, comparison, drafting, formatting, and tool movement. Then you review, correct, approve, and decide. That means the most valuable skill is not just prompt writing. It is workflow design, knowing what to delegate, knowing what to keep manual, knowing where the risk is, knowing how to check the output, knowing how to turn repeated work into a process. For online workers, the practical next step is simple. Do not start by asking, "Which AI agent should I use?" Start by asking, "Where am I repeating the same multi-step workflow every week?" Look for tasks that involve gathering information, comparing options, summarizing material, creating first drafts, updating structured documents, or preparing decisions. Then build a small agent-assisted version of that workflow. Keep the scope narrow, keep the data controlled, keep approval points in place. Then test whether it actually saves time or improves quality. If it does, expand slowly. That is how serious AI adoption works, not through hype, not through random tools, not by pretending the technology is perfect, but by redesigning the boring parts of online work around what AI agents are actually good at. The people who benefit most will not be the ones who believe every demo. They will be the ones who understand the difference between automation, assistance, and judgment. AI agents can do more of the work around the work, but the direction still has to come from you.